Hi, my name is Carlos Rico. I'm an elementary school teacher. I started teaching in Watsonville, California, at Salsa Puedes as a kindergarten teacher. Our school is mostly popular with minority students, a lot of migrant farm worker families in our schools. And I went to Salinas, which again at Los Padres was high minority, a lot of migrant kids. Then I came to Sacramento in 2000, and I was taught at Parkway Elementary. And this was fourth grade, mostly urban African-American children. Then to Oak Ridge, which is a mix, mostly Hispanic children, and now at the Phillips. I'd like to start out saying that when I first started teaching in kindergarten, we did have standards, but we didn't have scripted programs like we do now. So we would sit as kindergarten teachers around our table and discuss what we'd like to teach, what books we'd like to bring in to meet the needs of the children and also meet the standards. There were standards. And at that time, our classes were bilingual. So we were able to bring in all these great books that were written by Latino authors. And then when we talk to the children about their interests and find out what they would like to learn about and engage them that way, we would write the curriculum for a month, and we would all work very hard with our children. When I came to Sacramento, this was the beginning of when I started getting introduced to Open Court scripted program that was supposed to meet our standards. And that's when NCOE started to take a bite into education. And the curriculum itself was given to us, and everything in this one book, Open Court, or the series of books we were supposed to teach to the children. We were no longer able to pull out books of interest to the children, rather it was given to us to teach, to meet the standards that California had. A lot of the literature that we had was not at all engaging and didn't meet the background knowledge. In fact, I had to talk to the children and to give them the background knowledge so they would understand what they were reading. But we were told at that time we had to do it lockstep. We had reading coaches that would come into our classroom if we weren't on schedule. We would actually get in trouble with the principal. I myself got in trouble with was the Saxon math person who told me. She asked me if I had children. I said yes. She said too bad, because it's going to take a lot of time. And she asked, well, how late do you stay here after school? I said about 5, because you're going to have to stay late. And this was just give you a gauge of how I came to this district, coming from the Bay Area, Monterey Bay Area, and then coming here, and all of a sudden there was a lot of pressure. That was nothing. Currently in 5th grade, I can look at a standard in 5th grade, deconstruct it, look at the test questions, make test questions for it, so the children can have practice. So when the STAR test comes, that's all we do all year, is practice for the STAR test. That's it. When I taught at Parkway Elementary, my degree's in history, but I'm an elementary school teacher, the principal brought me in and walked me around and said, oh, you're a history teacher, or history would be good, you'll be able to teach social studies. So in the course of the year, I'm teaching Open Court, which is our language arts program, and Saxon Math back then, which was our math program. And it was 3 hours and 2 hours, basically the whole day. And after a few weeks, I asked the principal, when do I get to teach social studies? He said, you don't. You teach language arts and math. That's it. Now, Park Elementary back then, it's changed a little bit, was predominantly African American. We had then Hispanic, I believe, was Latino kids were our next student numbers, I guess you call it. So it was very disheartening to be in that classroom and to see children not engaged because of the curriculum. And I was told to teach a certain way. I couldn't break it down for them to understand it even further. So now we go now to what we're teaching in our classrooms. I have to also confess, my daughter goes to the highest performing school in the district. She goes to Phoebe Hearst. I taught at Oak Ridge last year, which was the lowest performing school district. And I could see this.
Second to last.
Second to last.
Okay.
Who beat you?
Freeport.
Freeport beat you. So I got to see the inequities too in our district. Where in my daughter's school, and she was, I have to confess that she was identified GATE, so that's a GATE school. In my daughter's school, they go on a field trip probably twice a month. Ethel Phillips, we just went on our first one. Okay. And we're talking about a different socioeconomic background when we talk about the parents. In Phoebe Hearst, you have parents who are able to supplement all these programs because they have they're pretty well middle class or above. Ethel Phillips, or Phoebe Herstead, sorry. And at the Phillips, we're a socioeconomically depressed area. Parents working 2 jobs, or parents who are unemployed, or parents who are just not there, and their grandparents are raising them. So the inequities are there. I go to my daughter's school. They have programs in place. They have Spanish after school. We learn Spanish. They have a music program. I go to the supply closet, which is always, to me, is always one of my biggest complaints. I go to the supply closet, and in there, it's packed full. And I'm amazed. I'm amazed as a school teacher. I'm amazed because in my entire 14 years, I've never seen a supply closet full, because I've always taught at schools that have predominantly minority students. At Oak Ridge, and I make this comparison, I'd be lucky if there was a new binder paper in there, and a lock and key, or if there are any pencils. Most of the materials that are in my classroom I have bought. Copy paper, binder paper, pencils. Right now I'm out of pencils now, so I have to go to buy another big package of pencils. There is an inequity, even though they say they're giving the monies to the schools, there's an inequity there that we don't see. That is damaging the ability of our children to actually get a full education. Field trips, people say, they're going to go have fun. Field trips, we just took our kids to San Francisco to the Exploratorium. Every bridge we went over was the Golden Gate to them. Is this the Golden Gate, Mr. Rico? Woo! Woo! And to me, it's like, these kids don't get out. They don't get the real world experience. They don't get the real world education that they need. These are 5th graders. I've had 6th graders who've never been to the beach. So we fundraised all year. We raised $400 selling candy. We will go to the beach. Kids have never been to the beach. Never been out of Sacramento. Maybe Sacramento, Oakland had some kids just go to Mexico and stuff, but they've never been out of the city. So real world experience. Okay, let me get to the testing part. So back to the testing. The testing is something that does take a lot of time. We do benchmarks 4 times out of the year. The kids have to sit approximately 2 to 3 hours for each part of the test. So there's 2 parts to each test, so that's 4 days of instruction lost. And this is 4 times out of the year. Meanwhile, in the morning, we're doing test prep, where we do this, what's it called?
Board math.
Well, board math. There's board math. There's language arts math. There's daily practice, where you go over some questions with the children. You go over the standards before every lesson with the children, so they know that what they're learning. However, they don't understand the language of the standards. So, and then as a teacher, what we're doing now, and this is really cool, is the state has given us the test release questions. So now we're rewriting the weekly tests to the language of the STAR test, so our children can understand the question. Right? Now these are our priorities, and they're not because we want to do this. It's because they will close our schools and kick our kids out. They will close our schools and turn them into charters. I mean, there are 4 prescriptions for failing schools in the state of California as of last year. One is a turnaround school. Lose, I believe, half the staff, the principal. One is to restructure as far as governance, but that's done before, actually. So we'll try to do this before you fall into program improvement 5, right? One is to close the school entirely, and the other one is turn it into a charter. So as a teacher, our scores are put up. So we always have this sort of, it's not mentioned, but the competition is there. They love that. They love to put that up. Every year we look at the kids coming up, and some teachers will try to get, these kids and not have these kids. So we're already having this in public school, where they're doing it in charter schools. I've taught at Oak Ridge for 6 years. And when I went to the County Board of Education to speak about the charter schools that Mark Fortune was pushing, they were using a PS7 as its model. Well, my 6 years at Oak Ridge Elementary, I saw the graph they used for PS7's rise. And I began to correlate how many times I've had kids from PS7 in my classroom who were kicked out.
PS7 is the charter school operated by the St. Hope Corporation.
Kevin Johnson.
That is just down the street from Oak Ridge.
It's literally walking distance away, and occasionally the mayor will put out pleas for, why can't they run it like I run PS7? Look at how good my test scores are. And we always laugh and chuckle around the staff lounge. My test scores would be good, too, if I was kicking out some of the kids you kicked over to us.
So when I talk to other schools, Father Keith Buchanan, which is a school just up the street from Oak Ridge, they, too, have had this, where the kids are kicked out of PS7 before testing, before December, into their schools. This happens a lot. I brought this up at the County Board of Education, and they were in denial. But this does happen. My contention as a public school teacher, and I said this at the school board, I will teach anybody who walks through my doors, and I will do my best. Although we're told to teach to the test, a lot of our professional development is teaching us how to do this. I still, as best I can, squeeze in any type of material, any type of experience my children can get to have that enrichment. This year, I bought recorders for all my kids, and I taught them how to play recorders. And this is something that our school hasn't had for years. A lot of teachers were saying, "Wow, you did." And the year before that, we did chess club. The year before that, we did some art. The year before that, we did this painting, and we turned it in as a class. And it took us almost all year to do this, and we got first place at the state fair in 4 categories. The stuff that we, as teachers, afford to our students, especially in our schools that have a high minority population, comes from us, not from the school, because the school can't afford it, and or the priority is the test. The priority is the test. I could look at the one last thing. They have how many questions are asked on each test according to the standard. If the test doesn't have more than 1 or 2 questions on it, we rarely spend time on it.
Power standards.
We're looking for power standards.
You go through and you start highlighting what's our power standards.
We have academic conferences in which they put a substitute in our classroom and look at our scores and we talk about how to do this. We are trained how to do this. I'm very good at my craft as far as teaching to the test, but I also realize this is wrong. And I'm also good to understand that I need to give my children a well-rounded education. And I'll always be an advocate for public education. So we really need more people to be involved in this. Many times as a teacher, as an advocate, I'm the only one talking at the school board meetings. We need more people. We need parents involved. I'm sorry, I'm getting into the answers.
No.
Yeah, here's...
I'm going to pass out Carlos's same letter I did, for McClatchy. This is the one from Ethel Phillips. So would you explain, what your program is?
We're Program Improvement 5. Program Improvement 5. This is really bad. Last year we made Safe Harbor, which we met our goal. But this year, the year before, for Safe Harbor, that means we met our score. Now they raised our score higher. We made about 60-point gain. We didn't meet it. So now we're Program Improvement 5. They sent this letter out to parents telling them what their choices are. If you look at the 2 schools that are their choices, they're below us. They're below what we scored this year.
Because they met their
AYP. They met their
Ethel
growth.
Phillips is deemed a severely failing school, yet their proficiency and their API scores are higher than the alternatives.
And it's because of one of your significant subgroups.
Right. And the sad part is, when I talk to school board members, 2 in particular that Lori and I actually spoke to for quite a while, labeled me as a failing teacher because of the scores at our school, which is the quickest way to deal with this, rather than delving into what's really there. Our president, in a general statement, wanted to close my school and fire me. When he said he wanted to close the 500 program improvement schools and fire all the administration. I can tell you that a lot of the teachers I work for are very, very dedicated to the students, very dedicated to public education. And just a blanket statement right there shows me the ignorance of that comment. We need to look at what this test is doing to our classrooms. We need to look at the craze that the press has about saying we have failing schools, we need to do something. Our schools are not failing. My kids are learning. My kids are succeeding. Just look at, even if we're playing by the game of their test, my kids are learning. But I came to the realization this year before school started that my report cards no longer matter. My assessments no longer matter. The only thing that matters is the STAR test. Because that will determine whether or not my school stays open and whether or not I'll have a job. And that's wrong. What matters is our children, not a test score. So,
And what we'll do is